long before county lines divided the mountains, long before settlers built cabins along the rivers, before Caldwell County, Fort Defiance, or the town of Lenore existed. Two nations fought a bitter war in the foothills of the Blue Ridge, the Cherokee and the Catawba. For generations, conflict moved through the valleys and ridges of what is now western North Carolina. Warriors crossed mountain gaps, families mourned their dead, and the struggle continued until, according to one of the oldest legends in the region, both sides decided that there had been enough bloodshed. What happened next would leave behind one of the most remarkable symbols in Appalachian folklore. Not a monument of stone, not a battlefield marker, but two living trees. Trees that, according to legend, still stand together today. This is Echoes of the Blue Ridge. I'm author and realtor Ryan Phillips. The Blue Ridge Mountains are filled with stories of conflict, stories of wars, of settlers, of nations struggling for land and survival. But some of the most enduring stories are not about war. They are about peace. And few Appalachian legends capture that idea more powerfully than the story of the Twin Poplars. Long before European settlement reached the foothills, the region around present-day Caldwell County stood between two powerful indigenous worlds. To the west lived the Cherokee. To the southeast lived the Catawba. Both peoples hunted the forests. Both traveled the river valleys. And both claimed connections to the same landscape. The mountains that appear peaceful today were once contested ground. According to local tradition, years of conflict erupted between the two nations. Raids, retaliation, loss. The kind of cycle that can continue for generations. Eventually, the fighting became so costly that leaders on both sides sought another plan. The legend places the turning point near Warrior Gap in what is now Caldwell County. It is said that Cherokee and Catawba leaders met there to negotiate peace after years of warfare. There would be no written treaty, no official signatures, no courthouse record. These were nations whose agreements rested upon memory, honor, and ceremony. And according to the story, the leaders chose a symbol that everyone would understand: two young poplar saplings. The trees were bent together and bound as a living promise. If they survived and grew together, the peace would survive as well. It was a simple idea, yet a powerful one. Because unlike a document, a tree continues to grow. Over the years, the saplings matured, their trunks expanded, their branches reached skyward, and eventually they appeared joined together as though two separate lives had become one. Visitors who saw the trees often wondered how they had formed. To the eye, each tree seemed to have its own root system, yet higher up they appear united. Had they truly been tied together by human hands? Were they naturally joined? No one knows for certain. And perhaps that uncertainty is part of what gives the story its power. Historians approach stories like the Twin Poplars carefully. There is no surviving treaty document, no known written account from the Cherokee or Catawba dating to the event itself. Yet the story persisted, generation after generation, long before modern tourism, before social media, before most people had ever heard of Caldwell County. The legend survived because local people continued telling it. Parents told children. Grandparents pointed towards the trees. Neighbors repeated the story, and over time, the Twin Poplars became part of the identity of the region itself. The mountains have a way of testing everything: people, homes, forests, even legends. When Hurricane Hugo pushed inland in 1989, enormous sections of western North Carolina's forests suffered devastating damage. Ancient trees fell. Ridges were transformed. Many feared the Twin Poplars would finally be lost. Yet after the storm passed, the trees were still standing. Weathered, damaged, but standing. For many, that survival only strengthened the symbolism. Two trees, two peoples, still standing together after centuries of storms. Not far from the legendary site stands historic Fort Defiance, home of Revolutionary War General William Lenore, and one of the most important historic sites in western North Carolina. Visitors often come to learn about the frontier period, about settlers, about the Revolution, about the birth of Caldwell County. Yet the Twin Poplars remind us that the history of these mountains did not begin with settlement. The story reaches further back, into a time when Cherokee and Catawba communities moved through these valleys long before county governments and state boundaries existed. The trees connect those worlds, the indigenous past, the frontier era, and the present day. What makes the Twin Poplars endure is not whether every detail can be proven. It is what the story represents. Across history, peace treaties are often marked by monuments, stone markers, documents, flags. The Twin Poplars offer something different, a living monument, a reminder that peace is not something signed once and forgotten. It must be tended, protected, allowed to grow, just like a tree. Stand in the Blue Ridge long enough and you begin to notice something. The mountains are patient. They outlast wars. They outlast towns. They outlast the people who walk among them. Perhaps that is why stories like the Twin Poplars survive, because they speak to something larger than a single generation, a hope that old enemies can become neighbors, a belief that conflict does not have to last forever. And somewhere among the foothills of Caldwell County, whether history, legend, or a little of both, two trees continue telling that story. Next time on Echoes of the Blue Ridge, we step behind the pages of The Blue Ridge Between Us to uncover the real people, real places, and true events that inspired the novel. The Blue Ridge Between Us, behind the story. Until then, listen carefully. The echoes are still here.